Oh my God, I tried to go live. Like those who were live, you could see I tried to go live and it was just lagging so much. And like I'd scheduled in going live to talk about Sister Locks thinning and it was lagging so much. I tried twice and then I just thought, you know what? Let me just do a video because you guys can see I'm trying. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying. I feel like my comfort zone is just recording, editing, and putting out. I'm trying to shift and move out of my comfort zone. You guys know I'm not a social media person, so I'm trying to do better, especially because I'm so inspired by my learners who, like, they reach out to me and they're uncomfortable with the process and they're not comfortable, but they take themselves out of their comfort zone. They book their time with me, like they learn, and I can see the nervousness of them trying to master this because it's Melissa who's on YouTube teaching them, and we work through it, and their hair is thriving, and so I'm so inspired by you guys. I'm like trying to get out of my comfort zone. So my comfort zone is recording, which this is what I'm doing, but you guys can see that I tried to go live and it just didn't work. So here we go. I will do it this way, and next time I'll go live again. I'm going to be live a lot more simply because when I talk you through what I want to talk about today, you'll understand why it's really important for me to go live, right? Because my intentions and vision is very clear. What I want to talk about today is firstly, Sister Locks thinning, and that's simply because so many times I get inquiries about why my Sister Locks thinning, and I've done it in so many different ways, responded, and so that's why I wanted to respond live, just in case there was somebody who had a question and I could answer you live. But I'll try my best to cover as much as possible with this share about Sister Locks and thinning. And for those who have never seen me, and this is the first time you're watching my posts, my name is Melissa Blake, and I'm the creator of Knotted Locks. And I'm a small size locks loctician. I work with DIYers online. I teach DIYers online how best to utilize my personalized knotted locks technique, because they want to create maximum fullness on their hair. And what I do teach them is a lifetime of achieving that with their small size locks. My learners are are just super amazing, become confident with the knots, and I'm there for them. And I want to be able to always provide that, whether my clients are face to face in my chair with me or online. It's really super busy for me. So what I want to talk to you about is the fact that, right, I want to cover Sister Locks, but I also want to talk about this thing where with me, because I'm super busy, I've always kind of relied or looked for mentorship or partnership. That's what I would say. And where I've looked for mentorship or partnership, for 13 years, guys, I've been doing this. So for 13 years, I have been working with African texture hair, right? And I've been working with Sister Locks and small size locks and micro locks and traditional locks. And I have this real belief that within our community, we can work together. We can work together as Black women, as Black people, and we can support each other and we can thrive together, with us all doing different parts and supporting each other. That's been one of my ultimate goals, as well as having us with our African texture hair just celebrate our hair as it is with our texture, right? Not comparing, not competing, just literally being inspired and enjoying our hair, right? And unfortunately, throughout my experience, I've just found I have been disappointed and heartbroken. And if you have been following recently, you can see something as it's happened again, right? It happened with it has happened even with family members, it's happened with clients, and it's happened with, now I call her Thivisha. And this last heartbreak, is a really important one to actually cover and talk about, because what had happened is my comfort zone is right, like just working with my clients, working offline, and then putting my data, my evidence of work online. I do not have the time to be online for a long time chatting. Now, this individual has time and completely celebrated what I did and what I do. And so then we developed I thought was a really great friendship. And what the agreement was, right, like, I'm going to support you, she says to me, Divisha. I'm going to support you, she says. Like, don't worry, I'll do interviews and I was grateful, I'll go and talk about knotted locks, you carry on. And that's what I did offline, right? And she was, what would I say, very instrumental in advising me on how to manage her community. Now I realize it was a setup, and basically she was doing her own thing. And the thing is, I wasn't watching her because I trusted her completely. But what I realize now is that I just need to get on and do things myself. Even the things that I feel like are not in my comfort zone, I just need to get on and do it. So that's what I'm doing today. As I said to you, unfortunately, this was meant to be live, but unfortunately, because of the glitching, I'm recording, right? Now, because I'm asked a lot of the time about sister locks, I thought this would be a really good opportunity for me to explain my observation or from my personal experience and ongoing experiences of clients and people who are inquiring about my services, but asking me to advise them about their sister lock. So one of the first things now the information I'm giving you is linked with me, my experience, and obviously clients, but I don't know whether Sister Locks is updating the way they're delivering the Sister Lock service. But this is my observation from way back and currently what people are telling me. Like, the lack of water and it being dry will be an issue, because if there's a lack of water, it means that your locks are dry and they're not moving. They need to move and shift, and that's why the water is really important. They need to move and shift because that's how they become strong, by moving. And then water allows that to happen, right? So that's why it's breaking off, because if the hair doesn't have the memory of it needs to move, then it's going to break off, right? Now, add to that, you've got baby hairs, newborn, new hairs just coming out of liquid, coming into the surface. And then what Sister Locks does is, or interlocking does, is it takes it and it threads it through. It threads it through the growth. It threads it through the growth and it pulls it up, right? So you're threading it through the new growth that should be left alone and treated like baby hair. When you're threading your locks through the baby hair, all of the history of your locks, these is mature, all of it is like going through baby hair. You're expecting baby hair to act like an adult, right? And so that's what's happening. You're pulling the firm locks through these, they're vulnerable. So what do you do with seedlings or newborn babies? Like, you don't do that. They're precious, they're little, but that's what's being done continually. And it's not just done once, it's done, it's split, put through, pulled up, split, put through, pulled up, split, put through, pulled up, at a speed that is like ridiculous. And a lot of the time, I remember my consultant telling me that it's like she's in a trance, which means absent-mindedly, autopilot, they're going in and they're doing that repetitively, pulling it up, doing it until it goes to the scalp. So even you guys who've decided, you know what, I'm going to wait to actually get my hair done maybe every 10 weeks or 12 weeks it's still the same problem. Okay, they're getting stronger, they're growing, but they're still baby hair in 3 months, And then they go in and they pull, they go in and they pull, and they go in, they pull, and they go in and tug. And then there's also this, the grid, like, oh, they need to keep it neat, the grid. So they're doing that to service a grid, not your hair texture. So many things are happening when it's threaded through. First of all, when it's threaded through and pulled, you're stretching. So your texture of your hair is changing. The characteristics of your hair is changing. It's done dry, so that's a problem. And then there's the grid that they need to keep clear, right? So where you keep it clear, that thinning is your strands learning muscle memory to stay in this grid formation. Where you're successfully having that clear space, that literally is hair loss. And that's why it's thinning. Now, those are strands that could help strengthen this lock. But if they've cleared it off, how is this lock going to get thicker? And that is why when I tell people to wait, the thickness starts coming through, the growth starts coming through, and it comes through in a very aggressive way that sometimes can be a bit overwhelming. But that's fine. Let's deal with the overwhelming feeling. That's absolutely fine. But at least you've got the hairs going through. That's what's happening when you leave it alone. Does that make sense? Right? So it's the threading through. It's the tugging, right? And I tell you, I say interlocking is knots. It's just that you're waiting for 6 weeks or 8 weeks for the knots to settle. That's the difference between Melissa's personalized knotted locks technique, is that I'm fast forwarding the process, right? So it's being threaded through, pulled, and every time it's pulled, it's follicles, pulled follicles, pulled follicles, pulled follicles, pulled follicles, thread through, pulled follicles. Like, do you understand? All the way down until it's tight. Oh, yeah. Why wouldn't it thin out? And it seems there's a pattern from like 2 years plus up to 3 years. That's when you begin to start seeing the thinning, right? That's when you begin to start seeing the thinning. So that's why your locks are thinning. They're thinning because the follicles are being like traumatized and uprooted. And obviously that's where you get the whiteheads at the end of the strand. And the whiteheads you're getting at the end of the strand, that's your uprooted follicle. So it's not normal to see those white follicle beads all along your locks. It looks like highlights. So I used to have them when my business partner was doing my hair. And because I was grey, it wasn't that obvious. But if I looked close, I could see the white follicle roots. And that is so, what would I say, confusing? Because if you're not feeling pain, if you're feeling pain, great, you know you're feeling pain. But if you're not feeling pain and you seem to be satisfied with your hair, but there's a niggly feeling, it's really hard to decipher should I be having those? And also it's hard to think, how do I avoid it? I tell you what, it's really hard to avoid if you have somebody who's passionate about interlocking and doing it tight. So other than you going, right, I am going to look for somebody else, hopefully you look for somebody else. Honestly, for me, it just had to be my personalized knotted locks technique, which means it doesn't compromise your follicles. There's no tugging, there's no pulling, and the natural characteristic of your hair, like, just basically comes back, and you can just live with your small size locks with your growth without being compromised or pulled. Please understand as well that there's snagging that happens. So our African hair, when you're locking it in that, so interlocking is braiding with a tool. That's all it is backward braiding with a tool. They can't plait it, so they use a tool and a backward braiding, right? So if you look closely, you will see that it's plaited, right? Now, our African hair tries to unravel. Obviously, it goes to the resistance stage, and naturally, because our African hair coils out and in and around, what happens is when they stay like this, strands come out, they're like that, right? If your locks is neat, that's great, but most people's African hair, like, they're rebellious. It goes in this direction, that direction. So when you pull it through the new growth, you're also snagging. So only is your mature firm compromising the well-being of the fines, the new strands. You've also got the curls snagging as well, snagging. So that's where you get tiny hairs. Tiny hairs are showing you evidence that your locks are thinning. Those tiny hairs when you wash your hair and you shake hair is evidence that your locks are thinning. Those tiny, when you hairs being interlocked and there's fine hairs on the chair or on the floor after your session, check for it, is evidence that tiny, it's like micro hair loss. It's little. So that's why you guys go, am I losing my hair? I'm not too sure. It's because you are. If you feel like you are, then you are, right? So when you're in pain, that's a sign. When you have to take medication, that's the sign. When you have to start injecting your head with like people are injecting their head to like help their hair come back and to deal with the hair loss. It's all of that is a symptom of the fact that the interlocking isn't working for you, right? You've got to change it because you just don't want to go bald. So let me tell you, itching, flaking, all of these are symptoms of hair loss. The pain, the tenderness when you touch an area. Sometimes, like my hair loss showed there and it showed here and it showed there. Sometimes, most people it shows there, it shows there. When you touch it, it's tender, it's sore. The retightenings are getting faster and faster and quicker, right? It means you have less hair. And it's really staying now. It's really staying in the grid, right? And then it feels just fragile and brittle. Like when you touch it, you feel like it's gonna break. It feels fragile. I feel like when I touch it, like I'm scared to touch it. All of that is signs that you've got a really sick head, sick scalp, weakened follicles, and your locks sometimes even stretch because it's not like they're not strong, they're not curling and binding together. So as they go, then you get these stretchy areas. All of that is showing that the interlocking isn't working for you. So it'll work up to a certain point and then it will thin out. Now, bear in mind, even with knotted locks, right? When I start a client's knotted locks, I give them a lot of locks because I want them to have fullness. Please bear in mind that sometimes locks serve their purpose and then they just stretch off. So that even happens with my hair and it happens with clients' hair. Sometimes they'll come and they'll be like, a really healthy lock fell. I've not seen them in months. It's just the one lock or maybe two. Like if it's more than that, then we explore why. And most times it's because they've not wet their hair as much. They've not understood how much water their hair needs. So but in the case where it's just one lock that's dropped off in, let's say, 6 months or 7 months, 8 months, 9 months or 2, I go in and go, right, give me, also guys, never, if you're thinking of knotted locks as an option for you, never throw away your locks. Never, ever throw away your locks. Keep it, and during our learning session, I'll tell you what to do with it. Don't throw it away. But anyway, I go in and I'm like, okay, I start knotting, I start relocking, and I'm like, I'm going to add or attach that lock that fell because it's super healthy to an area. And sometimes I have to give them back and say, still keep it because in the future I might need it. But what I find is I can't find it, and I've probably seen those strands and thickened up the rest of the lock, another lock. Please remember this, that sometimes a healthy lock does stretch off. You don't know exactly where it's stretched off, but it's stretched off because it served its purpose. It just doesn't need to be there. That weight is unnecessary, so don't force it. And if you do like here and it drops once and you do it a second time and it drops, leave it. Just leave it because it just doesn't want to be locked. I hope that makes sense. So that's one thing that you need to be aware of is sometimes, I mean, if you're losing a lock, fine, but sometimes one lock falling off, even with sister locks or knotted locks, is it that it served its purpose and it just doesn't want to be there. Right? Now, solution for me, the solution to avoiding thinning hair is obviously you might have to consider changing your consultant, wetting your hair more. You not even consider that, like you have to wet your hair. Oil helps keep the moisture in for longer, but wetting is important. Now, I wet my hair every day, but I swim almost every day. But you will find out what works for you. This is whether you're knotted locks or your sister locks. So obviously, I'm talking to the sister locks people. So sister locks people, now this is why knotted locks exist, because my clients needed to go into water and the locks were unraveling. So like I was oiling it, we were doing all the right things, but the hair is so soft that it was unraveling. So that's why knotted locks was born. It was born from me wanting to wet my hair more often, my clients to wet their hair more often. My clients like that fullness, that feeling when you wet it. All of that was why knotted locks was created. And when knotted locks was first created, there was a way I was knotting in the first year, and then it's like evolved. And that's why it's my personalized knotted locks technique, because it's evolved. It's evolved as a result of the numbers of hairs I touch, apart from my hair, and then trialing on those clients, and then now being able to teach it. And obviously I've learned a lot from teaching it online live, right? And that there is my challenge, right? There is my challenge, because the information I'm getting to help my clients on and offline is to a live exchange, whether it's a client or whether it's you guys online. And so now let's talk about a course online for knotted locks, right? And the only way this is going to happen successfully is with time. As I teach my DIYers, you can't rush a process. You cannot rush it. When I first started knotting, I knotted for 2 years. And then it was 2 years plus, going on to the third year, I started teaching knotted locks. I have been teaching knotted locks now for 4 years online to DIYers, and that will continue. But how that looks moving forward is unclear to me. But I feel like if I tapped into you guys who follow me, and please subscribe, you guys who, when I come online, you ask the questions or you ask me questions about your hair, then I'll be able to know how moving forward I could combine my knowledge and moving my knowledge online. This is meticulous, detailed work, as in when I work with my clients. And so without you guys, I can't create the right course to support you. Now, let's talk about Thivicia, right? Thivicia, there was a time when, like so many months ago, I think like 6 months ago, I did a consultation with someone who told me, you should do something like this online, right? And immediately I called my friend and I told her, Thivicia, and she was like, oh, okay. Like a few months ago, she asked me about, what was the app again to use? Teachables, right? I didn't realize that she, many months before, was actually planning this course. It isn't like I've got a year's experience and I'm planning a course now. This woman learned for 6 months on her mixed heritage, loose, like quite straight hair, where clients have curly African texture hair. She's the only client I've taught with such straight hair. So for her to begin to create a course online to teach you how to knot your hair, it's just so dangerous. It's so dangerous. It's so assumptive. I, who created this technique, I'm working through it. I'm working through it. I don't know. And you can't rush it. I don't know how exactly that's going to look, but it has to involve you guys as a community talking to me, right? And I can't see how I can teach you without me talking to you. I just can't see it. So you have to be careful, guys. This is detailed work, and this is your hair. Be very careful, because what it looks like to me, because she had planned it 6 months in, she started, she used to ask me the most dumbest questions. And I can understand why she was asking me those dumb questions. I was thinking, I'm surprised she's asking me such dumb questions. It's like a dummy's guide, right? I'd answer her, but I'm answering her in context, subjective, relative to her hair. And she's gone and built a course around her hair. So I just want you guys to be careful, because if you put the money first without the quality of servicing your community, and if she feels the need to discredit what I'm doing and undermine what I'm doing, when I am the source, I am the creator, be very careful. Because if she can put money first and discredit the source, how authentic, how real is your relationship when she's teaching you? Like, what comes first, her or you? So anyway, that's what I want you to understand, that it's 6 months of her knowledge. She started creating those courses, and I'm sure she's got a lot of courses. And I was teaching for 2 years, and I'm still in the process, taking my time, because I need to speak to and teach a lot more people before that course is rolled out online. Now, for me, I have a Facebook group, and I feel like I could really maximize that Facebook group more. So you guys, please, it's Knotted Locks, but it's Melissa Blake Knotted Locks. It's easy to find. So if you guys are on Facebook, that's a really good space to go and start talking to me about what's going on with your hair. When I come live, I'm going to try and answer questions, but it has to be about your hair. And let me set the scene. When you're asking a question, you're asking about your hair, but this is legacy work as well. So it's beyond my lifetime. So what I want is, when my descendants wear small size locks in the future, there is no harm to their follicles. They're able to wear their hair with maximum locks fullness, and no lies or myths are fed to them about, well, there's no choice, your hair has to remain like that, or that's normal, it will pit hurt, or it's like, all this nonsense has to go, because these kids, they don't have patience. They're gonna go and start like destroying their hair with other bad hairstyle practices. So when you're asking the question, ask it like you're asking for your goddaughter's hair or your granddaughter's hair, that you want me to provide you in the future a much more supportive way to help them be able to live with their hair and be all right. Because so as I have the knowledge, I'm gonna involve you guys and grow it. So that's where I'm at with the online course idea. Is I'm playing around with ideas, and that's why I have to be coming online to actually have conversations with you guys. So when I create it around, hopefully what would happen is, you'd be like, when you see that title, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's one of the questions I was asking. Now, when I answer the question to you, of course, I've said to you, it's relative to you, but I always think that when I answer the question, maybe somebody else, that's what I say in the Knotters group, somebody else might find that very useful. And so that is the idea. Again, I ask you to be patient with me, because all of this is new to me. And what I found is, when I try to do the partnership thing, when I try to do the mentorship thing, it feels like I'm being criticized for being imperfect, which I think is perfect for this kind of situation, because our hair isn't perfect, it isn't precise. And so now what I'm doing is, in isolation, I'm going to work through this, tapping into you guys, and hopefully I come up with the right course to support you guys in the future. Back to Sister Locks. I was thinking, like, okay, if I tell you that this is the problem, I've told you that it's dry and all of that. I've told you what to do, like oil wet. And I was wondering whether I should be giving you like little tips on how to manage the person on your head. Let's say you want to stay with that consultant. Could you form a better relationship? Do you think you could? Maybe suggest, like, should we start taking pictures? Or start telling her I'm taking pictures now, because I feel like I think it's thinning. because photographs are really important or videos are really important. So you could do that, tell them and have a joint plan. And then when you see a hole, you go, oh, what's that? And you know, is there a way of you saying, can I let you know if I'm hurting? You know, if you're in pain, can I let you know if I'm hurting? So pictures, can I let you know if I'm hurting? Ask her about her reties. So how often do you retighten your hair? Right? And let her explain it. And then and then ask, could you do the same? And this is just a suggestion. If this is near impossible, then what are you doing there? Like, I've done a post about this. Like, you are accountable. You're 100% responsible for the chair you sit in. And so if you can't have these open conversations, because with my clients, I can say, okay, yeah, we'll leave growth. We'll do it, you know, because I do it mine. And some of them want it a bit closer. And please bear in mind when I post my clients' heads, it's my clients, DIYers. And so those are the clients who I don't know when next I'm going to see them. So that's why I post it like you can see their scalp. Because a lot of the time now, it's not even 4 times a year. It's like 3 times a year or twice a year. Some clients have even gone to once a year, right? So when I do their hair, do it close to the scalp. But the DIYs, I teach them how to look after their hair with some growth, you know, with growth beneath it, right? Yeah, I hope that helps you guys. Like, maybe start having open conversations. Like, does she want to improve her services? You know, does she want to continue creating this pain? I don't know. Sometimes people don't know they're creating pain. Sometimes they do, fine. Then you need to consider something else. Knotted locks is always an option for you guys, you know. But if you like the sister locks, then maybe move to somebody else. But anyway, that's just a few tips to like have open conversations with your consultant. And, you know, there would be those who would be open to it. I hope that helps you. So thank you for watching this post. Was meant to be live. And I will come back live and start having conversations with you about questions that are asked. And hopefully you come online and ask me questions. And around that, Melissa Blake, creator of Knotted Locks, can build a comprehensive online course that involves me interacting with you on a one-on-one and also you getting the online support. Because as I get busy, obviously you need to tap into somewhere where those questions are answered. Now I answer them on my WhatsApp, but at some point I won't be around and I need you guys to have the ongoing support. But after I've connected with you and I've given you feedback and I'm supporting you and I'm showing you this how you create your knots and and how do you might try it this way? How about you try it that way? It wouldn't be good enough for me to just show you my looping or my knotting method and then that's not quite working, and you know, so I need to make sure you're right so that when you go into the online bit, you actually have been giving you your foundation for you then to tap into that for different little questions. Thank you for watching this post. Take care of yourself. Follow, please. Subscribe, because I'm evolving. What happened with me, that pain, is a rebirth. And this is the beginning of it. And from here on end, I'll just take on all the tasks. And I'll get on doing it like in my imperfect way. And that's how it's going to be from now on. So follow, subscribe, share, and join my Facebook group, please. And let's help me create the right kind of course for you guys to wear knotted locks in the most gorgeous way for a lifetime. Take care of yourselves. Bye.